A warm good evening to all of you, my dear guys, YouTube channel aspirants, and my good wishes. Again, good evening to all of you. My dear guys, I am Philip Solomon. Today, I am going to give a lecture series on the basis of PT prelims examination. Those who are preparing for prelims examination, these lectures is very beneficial for all of you, because all are conceptuals, and after perceiving and analyzing some questions, I am going to give a lecture. After listening to this lecture, you can find out the fruitful and imaginative lecture which is very beneficial whenever we are going through the development of knowledge booster. So my dear guys, in this lecture only 2 points I will discuss. One is concerning to Indian constitutions, the provisions, and now what is the financial stability, financial condition in our country, like due to COVID-19 pandemic, all establishment of Indian economy is completely collapsed. But we can't say that. Whenever we are going through the comparison since 1991, 2008, since 1930 to 2020, actually this state is not considered to be 1991, because this is very good in conditions comparing to that positions in 1991. So in this lecture I will discuss two topics, 2 points. First point will be Indian constitutional on the basis of financial emergency, and second will be on current affairs, because I have a questions. In these questions I am going to give you lectures. Okay, so first questions has been asked on the basis of financial emergency, and second is on the basis of Earth Day. The Earth Day is our current topics, current affairs topic, whereas we are talking about the financial emergency. This is both considered like Indian economy as per Indian polity too. All aspects of the financial emergency I will discuss here, so that you can go through whenever a question can be appeared before you, you can go through the answer, and the answers of that particular question will be haunt in your mind that this answer, this option must be appropriate for this question. So now I am going to start. So now, without killing our time, we have to start our lecture on the basis of financial emergency. My dear guys, the President of India has the power, has the right to declare financial emergency in our country, in India. Actually, my dear guys, whenever I am talking about the financial emergency, when it can be occurred, actually the financial situations of the country, but we can say this proclamation and therefore these declarations are approved of the cabinet is very necessary. Without getting the approval of the cabinet, our president does not implement and announce as a financial emergency in our country. As per the Indian Constitution, whenever we are going through concerning to the Indian Constitution, in part 18th, in 18th part, a provision has been given like Article 352 to 360. Those are considered to be the emergency in our country. Actually, my dear guys, Article 352 talks about national emergency, whereas Article 360 talks about financial emergency in our country. My dear guys, we all are fortunate, as well as our country is also fortunate, that since independence of our country, when India got freedom in 1947, after Republic of our country in 1950, there is no time, there was no a situation has come to our country before our country to challenge that these types of provisions, these types of announcement must be done by the president of our country. But there was a time during 1991 this was perceived, but finally not. So whenever we are talking about the national emergency, actually national emergency has not been imposed in our country, in India, even today. Although the economic situation of our country was much worse in 1991, but a financial emergency was not imposed in our country, because in that period whenever we are talking, actually the stability of Indian economy was completely lost. because India has no the future plan, we can say, and the security which has been observed and assured to go through a month. There was a big problem, there was a big challenge for our country to go through and to make the established and the stability to the people of our country. There was a problem. In spite of it, in 1991 financial emergency was not implemented. But even today, a lot of critics, members, students, teachers, those are talking about that this is a opportune time to implement and to announce by the president as a financial emergency. But actually, my dear guys, we have to know, we must consider about that this is not in India only. The country of the world all are facing these types of challenges as COVID-19 pandemic. My dear guys, whenever we are talking about the resolution, which types of resolution must be passed, and then our president will be powerful and empowered to go through the implementations and the, we can say, giving the provisions to announce the financial emergency in our country, is that the resolution approving the declarations of financial emergency should be passed by any houses of the parliament, not by a special majority, but only by a simple majority. Then it can be occurred, and whenever these types of provision, these types of authority can be held to the president will perceive about that is it right or wrong. My dear guys, if these types of provision can be occurred before the president, in that situation what president done? In which situation these types of emergency can be occurred and emulated by the president of our country? There is a provision, there is a questions to find out the regions that which types of situation can be occurred, and the president of our country can announce about the national emergency as a financial emergency. So my dear guys, if the president of India feels that the situation has arisen in the country due to which the financial stability of India, the credibility of India or the financial stability of any part of the territory of our country is completely threatened, challenged, suffered, collapsed, then he or she, mean to say I'm talking about the president, then he or she shall declare financial emergency on the advice of the cabinet. Actually, as per the Indian Constitution, Article 358 says, when we are talking about the article, what the provisions has been mentioned in Indian Constitution under Article 358, then we have to know the Article 358 of the Constitution of our country, Constitution of our India, actually related to the suspensions of the provisions of Article 19 during the emergency and not to the financial emergency in our country, because Article 360 is related to the financial emergency in our country, because there are three emergency like national emergency in 352, 356 president rule, president emergency, you can say state emergency we can say, and 360 this is a financial emergency. Those are included in Indian Constitution. Actually, on the basis of 42nd Amendment of Indian Constitution, the President has empowered to declare the national emergency in the entire country or any part of India. Prior to 1976, as 42nd Amendment of Indian Constitution, this power was completely not allocated to the President, because if you are talking about the empowerment of the President concerning to the provisions and announcement of the financial emergency, it was completely taken place in 42nd Amendment of Indian Constitution. That's why we can say a proclamation, if we are talking about the proclamation, which types of proclamation can be done? So my dear guys, a proclamation of the financial emergency must be approved by both the houses of the parliament. within 2 months from the date of its issue. Date of its issue mean to say whenever these types of provisions has been announced by the president, like national emergency on the basis of financial emergency has been taken place, then within 2 months it can be approved by the cabinet concerning to both houses of the parliament, like Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha. My dear guys, whenever it can be occurred, what can be handled? In that scenario, first we have to know from where this provisions of emergency has been derived in our Indian Constitution. Actually, my dear guys, emergency provisions in the Indian Constitution are taken from the constitutions of Germany. Is it okay? Taken from the constitutions of Germany. Actually, the constitution of India envisages there are 3 types of emergencies. Just I talked earlier: president rule, national emergency, and the financial emergency. Okay, whenever financial emergency can be taken place in any part, then what can be occurred in India? You know very well, all the authority are completely derived to the president, and the central government enjoy all the aspects of the powers. In that scenario, we can say the salary and the allowances. The salaries and the allowances can be reduced by the president for all persons, or we can say classes implied. Okay, classes implied in the state, because the executive powers of the center expanded during the financial emergency, and it can, we can say, give a financial orders to any state according to his own what he expects. So those are the provisions, those are the facts which I have completely mentioned under Indian Constitution to go through the financial emergency. So now I have discussed all about the financial emergency of our country, when it can be occurred, but whenever we are going through the considerations, even today it has not occurred the period what we have talked about the provisions. Second topic, the Earth Day. Actually, the Earth Day, several questions can be asked before you, because I have analyzed some questions, that's why I am going to give you the analysis. So actually, my dear guys, friend, the Earth Day is celebrated on 22nd April. Why on 22nd April? What was the provisions and when it was occurred? Several questions can be occurred before you, so you have to know. So first we have to know the Earth Day is celebrated on 22nd April to initiate effort to save the earth. To initiate the efforts means each and every people must have the triumph and trial to go through to save the earth, because this is the one planet in the world having life existed. So we all are responsible, we all have the responsibility to save and protect the earth. Actually, my dear guys, the Earth Day was first celebrated on 22nd April in 1970 in USA. Whenever it was celebrated in USA in 1970, several things we have to know, like the first Earth Day celebrations took place in the USA on 22nd April 1970. This day brought around 20 million Americans out of the, what we can say, out of to have a peaceful, we can say, demonstrations for environmental reform. Mean to say, in 1970, American got aware themselves about what is the advantage of the earth. And finally, since 1970, this day has been celebrating as the Earth Day. Is it okay? A question, as I have seen, that who is the father of the Earth Day, it means to say this question can be raised before you several times, so you must know about it. Fully you must know about it. So actually, my dear guys, the Earth Day was founded by American senator. He was Mr. Gaylord Nelson. Okay, he was Mr. Gaylord Nelson, I think. He was a senator of American. Okay, so he was the American senator Gaylord Nelson. For environmental education, he started and launched this program to make the aware among the people about what is the beneficiary of the earth. People knew about it, and since when 1970, this day has been celebrating as the Earth Day in the world. Actually, my dear guys, the reason behind the Earth Day is that the day is celebrated and observed. Try to understand. This day is celebrated or observed for the support for environmental protections, because each and every people must have the proactive activities. So this can be also implemented and to regulate to how to protect the earth. This provision must be held here there, and the support includes all types of efforts which essential for environmental protections must be done by the people of the world. So this was the provisions under these sections, and there is the main point to find out that in the examination you can go through the theme can be asked for you, that what was the theme of the last year, what is the theme of this year. So we must know. So I am making the session earlier to 2 years back. You have to know about what is the theme. What was the theme of 2018? 2018 theme of the earth was end plastic pollution. In 2018 it was quoted, and after the quoted this quotation, how to protect the earth from plastic pollution. In 2019, this was save our species. This was the theme. But in 2020, the theme of 2020 of the Earth Day is climate action. Is it okay? Actually, dear guys, a question has also asked that which types of event is the Earth Day? And Earth Day is considered ... event. Which types of event? My dear guys, Earth Day is an annual event. Okay, Earth Day is an annual event celebrated by more than 1 billion people in 192 countries. The aspect data I have given. Aspect data you can also go through the emulations and considerations of the knowledge which can be boosted. So these are the interpretations. These are the overall talks about the financial emergency as well as the Earth Day I have discussed here. So I am requesting you all that current affairs are playing a vital role in all of the examination. So whatever you are utilizing each and every day, as per the current update, what was in that period occurred and what is the happening of the current issues, those must be mixed. Those must be looking after the analysis of the current and the past, which will be the future as a what we can say probability. Those must be the probability must be discussed in mind, analyzed in mind. Then we have to go through the questions and answer can be declared. Okay. So for this set, I would like to conclude this lecture, and the next lecture I will give you economics term. Okay. Thanks all.